video. Okay, let's get into the updates on the Tupac trial. All right, you know your girl gonna bring you all the info she could gather. Okay, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you do so. Okay, subscribe, like, share, comment. Okay, I like to be interactive with my subscribers and more. So yes, subscribe to my channel. Okay, because I get into all the messiness we goes in over here. All right. But anyway, let's get into it. So I wanted to start off by talking about a little bit of what happened in the trial today. Make sure my volume is up. Okay, so today in the trial of Tupac and the case of Tupac and the Keefe case, it got very, very interesting. I thought I knew a lot of details, but I didn't even know half the stuff that I heard. I was shocked, okay, to hear a lot of the stuff that I heard today during the trial. So let's get into it. So so Tupac was bang bang, deleted in 1997. In 1998, there was Suge Knight had a probation, his probation was coming up. And somehow Orlando Anderson, which is Keefe D's nephew, testified in like Suge Knight's defense. Now, Keefe D has stated that allegedly Suge Knight paid for Orlando Anderson, I guess, to testify against him. I'm not sure why Orlando Anderson had to testify at all, doing Suge Knight's probation hearing. But allegedly that's what happened. It is what it is. But what hasn't been proven is whether or not Orlando Anderson was paid to testify against Suge Knight. Okay, so when we do know that when Orlando Anderson testified for Suge Knight, he was saying that they never got into it. He didn't hold any grudges against him. And we know that's not true because in 97, allegedly, Tupac and Suge jumped on him. And I believe it was in the MGM hotel, after the Mike Tyson fight. So why would you have Orlando Anderson testifying on Suge Knight's side in 1998 when he just allegedly been partake in one of the most hurtful and emotional unalivings in history, because here it is almost 30 years later and we're still talking about who took out Tupac, right? So that's how important it is, how important that this case has been to the history of hip hop and just in general, right? What's up, you guys? Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you are not, okay? And give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. But today proved a whole lot to me when I said before that I believe Suge Knight has something to do with the unaliving of Tupac. This today really proved my case, okay? It proved my case for me. So, Keefe D was being investigated for rug tacking, you know what I'm talking about, with the T. So I guess he had a whole bunch of rugs and he was moving it a lot of different places. So the 12 was investigating him. So, and then he was a gang member. So somehow he was brought into custody and he was willing, allegedly, to be an informant for Los Angeles PD. And so he gave his testimony on what he believed had happened with the Tupac Shakur case and also in the Biggie case. Okay, it gets very interesting, you guys, okay? I'm going to try to make it as interesting as possible. Follow me. Okay, so during the proffer agreement, Keefe D was pretty much like interviewed to find out like what he knew, what was going on, who was doing what and everything. So Keefe D said that Suge Knight, this is all alleged, okay? I'm just trying to give the information to you so you can understand it, right? So don't take it word from word unless I say it's word from word, right? But anyway, so they asked Keefe D what happened, what did he know about the unaliving of Tupac, right? This was in 1998, okay? So Tupac said, Keefe D, he said, okay, well, he said he knew that Suge Knight had hired a Los Angeles police officer, Reggie Wright Jr., to work as his security. And he had him on his team. So he said that Reggie Wright Jr. was also involved in the rug distribution with the D, rug with the D, distribution. And also, he was in charge. Listen, Keefe D said in 1998, okay, that Reggie Wright Jr. was in charge of taking out, okay, murking, unaliving people for Suge Knight. Okay, now I'm gonna stop here because I heard a lot of people say before this trial even came about, people were saying that Reggie Wright, that the the LA police department had a lot to do. Los Angeles Police Department had something to do with the unaliving of Tupac and Biggie. Okay, and I was like, well, how are they going to prove that? How do they know that? Why would it be the LA police instead of just like the rival people, which would be P. Diddy, right? That's who you would think, right? So follow me, okay? Follow the story. So, from what Keefe D was saying, Suge Knight hired Los Angeles police officers. Well, Suge Knight hired Reggie Wright Jr., who was a Los Angeles police officer. Reggie Wright Jr. then was in charge of a lot of things, and he was on his way, or he was about to start. I'm not sure if 98 he started it or if it was coming, but Reggie Wright had officers, off-duty officers working for him, and then eventually he had his own security company. So Keefe D said in 1998 that it was common and it was known that Suge Knight had Reggie Wright Jr. unaliving people for him. Suge Knight said this, Keefe D said this in 1998, y'all. So that explains a lot, because if you think about it, now that's believable. I remember hearing that the police department had something to do with it, and I was like, well, why would they have association with it? So follow me, okay? So Keefe D said that, Reggie Wright and his crew, he was the one who would be in charge of taking out people. So he said in 1998 that he wasn't there in Vegas. So it wasn't until years later Keefe D started doing interviews saying that him and his nephew was in the car, and his nephew was the one who unalived Tupac. Now I'm not sure why the story's changed so much, but the 1998 information, I'm going to believe because it was happening in real time, and Keefe D was under investigation, and not only would he be arrested for a very long time, but a lot of his family members, they threatened to, put a lot of people in jail behind the Keefe D mess, because he was a gang member, or he is a gang member, and he had a lot of access to the rugs. Okay, so much so they were able to hold that over his head and get him to tell what he knew. He even went as far as trying to set someone up and wearing a wire. So he went to New York City, and I believe it was Zip. he was trying to he was trying to frame, or not frame, I guess it's not framing if he had something to do with it. He was trying to set up Zip. He wore a wire. He went to New York City. He got on a plane, went to see Zip. Zip wouldn't see him. So Zip let one of his other people see Keefe D, but he couldn't. It had to be Zip who was on the, was on the recording. So Keefe D wasn't able to get anything against Zip. But the reason why Keefe D was supposed to be wearing a wire to take down Zip is because Keefe D said that P Diddy had a $1 million bounty on Tupac, and so the gang members knew about the bounty. And of course, some people wanted to do what they got to do. Now, what I'm taking from this is you have gang members who are not on one accord. Okay, so you may have some gang members who like Diddy, and you may have of the same gang, you might have the other gang members who really down with Suge Knight. Or you'll have gang members who don't care. They all about their money and they'll do whatever. Okay, this is what I'm taking from this. Then you have the LAPD who are their own gang. Okay, just like all the rest of them, in my opinion. Okay, then you have the LAPD gang. Okay, they are their own gang, so they're willing to. Some of their officers allegedly are willing to do whatever it takes to make some extra money or to just be a part of a whole bunch of mess, right? I'm pretty sure it's for the money or fame or whatever. I don't know. So, yeah. So this is what we found out. So Keefe D also said that he believed Reggie Wright had folks to take out Tupac, which makes sense why Tupac was the only one who really got hurt. Okay? Because I'm thinking, okay, well, why wouldn't they? Because they said Suge Knight got pow in the head, which he couldn't have possibly got pow in the head. He didn't even stay in the hospital that night. Okay? Now, grazed, probably. But pow in the head and he went home that night and he was at the hospital with Tupac. I don't believe that. But because he went home. So either he checked himself out or whatever. He didn't stay in the hospital that night. And Tupac was there for like 7 days, I believe. And then it was like 7 days, I believe. And then they said that he had passed away. But anyway, so that really makes me believe, because I was trying to figure out, okay, well, if P. Diddy put out a bounty, $1 million bounty, and then he got someone from a gang to take Tupac out, then why are they saying that the police took Tupac out? That don't make sense. But I guess it does make sense if both sides, P. Diddy and Suge Knight, allegedly are hiring off-duty police officers. So it makes complete sense. Because if they got a job to do, they don't care. Well, I look like my lighting went down. If they got a job to do, they don't care about anything. I don't know if my phone got too hot. I think my phone's too hot. So, yeah, makes a whole lot of sense to me. And if you remember, in the Biggie case, okay, it was the same rumor that allegedly LAPD had something to do with the unaliving of Biggie. And then folks were saying also they believe it was the who you call them? The Muslim people. The Muslim people. I forgot what you call them. NWO. NWO. What that stand for? I don't know why that's coming to me, but not the actual name. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know why my phone got so dark. I think my phone got hot. I'm definitely gonna have to upgrade. But anyway, so yeah, now it makes complete sense to me. So we done put together pieces, and now you know it definitely, in my opinion, it probably was LAPD who actually took out Tupac and Biggie because they both had connections with Diddy, allegedly with Diddy and Suge Knight. And I'm gonna tell you how they had connections with, allegedly, with Diddy. So Keefe D said that he was trying, that he had saw Diddy somewhere, and Diddy told him don't get close to him because he was already been investigated by the feds for a RICO charge. So tell me, how would he know that he's been investigated for a RICO charge? And then Keefe D said that at the same time, Suge Knight was being investigated for a RICO charge as well. So allegedly, the feds were investigating P. Diddy and Suge Knight. Okay? And then since allegedly P. Diddy put this bounty out for the gang members to take out Tupac, part of the police gang were gang members too. They were a part of the same gang. So they had, some of these police officers allegedly had, were in the regular hood gangs and a part of the police department gang. And I call it a gang because they're a group or an organization, right? So yeah, so it makes a lot of sense that the police would be able to get away from, to commit a crime and get away and have the case just go up on, be pushed under a rug, swept under a rug for years to come. And it's almost 30 years later, and we still don't know what happened to either Biggie or Tupac. Makes complete sense to me now. Before I was like, what would the how why it didn't make sense, but now it makes a lot of sense to me. Because allegedly Reggie Wright Jr. was part of one of those gangs, I believe Crips or something. I'm not sure. I don't remember which one, because it's two. It's the Southside Crips or something, and the Blood. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. All I know is gang. Okay, but makes a lot of sense, and makes a lot of sense for me why Suge Knight is doing interviews, and the first thing he says is how much he loved and admired Tupac, which makes me believe that allegedly, this is my opinion, okay, he was the reason who went and got access to Tupac while Tupac was locked up, and put him in that situation so that he could be taken out. That's my opinion. Because if you don't know, Tupac was locked up because they framed him for another charge that I don't believe he actually did, for the, I don't believe he was charged for the ape with the R, but I believe it was somewhere around there, or he might have been charged with that. And that's a whole nother case as well. If you look into that case, the pieces just don't add up, because it was supposed to be, in that case, the R word case that happened before, that caused Tupac to even get locked up. It was him and other guys, and he was the only one who got locked up and charged, and they knew who the other guys were. So it made sense that somebody, I'm thinking the prosecution, wanted to lock Tupac up. For what reason, I'm not sure. Probably because he could make a difference in the black community with young people. At the time, he was prophetic. He was. And it made sense because he was an artist, pretty much. He went to like a school of Juilliard or something, a school for theater or something like that. That's how he met Jada Pinkett. Now, of course, they both came from harsh backgrounds. I believe both their parents, Jada and Tupac parents, were on drugs real bad. But they wanted to be actor, actresses, So, they were able to go to this theatric school. And even though, they still, were dealing with some rough stuff at home, you know? They say he was secretly gay because of that video or that picture that he took being in the bathtub with all that jewelry around him. I thought that was real suspect too. Like, to me, I can't see a straight man doing something like that. And because we know that he went to school, the theatric school, he was an actor, okay? It made sense. But his music was like prophetic. It wasn't like hood. Now, the thuggish thing only came about when he got with Death Row, in my opinion, from my memory. I don't remember him being a thug, just like a handsome lover boy. Like, or not a lover boy, because he was messing with a lot of different women, but he was just handsome. And I remember hearing about him being with a lot of different women at the same time. Okay, he was a lot of women wanted him. Okay, so when he did that picture of him in that tub with all the jewelry, it was like, now we don't want that, because that don't look right. That didn't look right at all. And I'm not sure why he even agreed to do some mess like that. That I don't know. But to me, I'm thinking that's part of that theatrical part of him acting. And he probably thought, they're paying good, I'm going to do it. I don't know. But that's why they're saying he gay. Because there was a rumor going around at that time where they were saying that, what's the guy name who ran Motown? Oh, he didn't run Motown. The girl that Tupac was supposed to be engaged with at the time, her dad, he just passed away not too long ago. But they were saying that her dad offer him to like sleep with him or whatever, and he turned it down and he put him on blast. Now, I can't remember where that actually came from. I just remember it being a rumor, because usually Tupac would say how he feel on camera, and you could tell that he believed in humanity. He loved talking about human rights and the way of the world. So that kind of connected him. Plus, he was handsome. He was very good looking. So that connected him with, people. I'm going to say people in general, because it's not just black people, okay? Allegedly, he was dating Madonna or messing with her just like he was other women. So he didn't discriminate when it came to race, but they tried to make it seem like he was a racist or something like that, which he wasn't. He was just all about, like he was saying, it doesn't make sense that you have rich people who can, they have all this money, and then you have people over here who are starving and don't have food to eat. And that makes sense to me. And I feel that same way. It doesn't line up. You have people who are struggling and trying to make a way, and they're working faithfully on jobs, and they're not being paid enough, but the minimum wage has not increased. And a lot of states that haven't. South Carolina being one. And I'm only saying that because I'm from South Carolina, so I know. And it probably hadn't changed for like Texas or many other states either. I don't know to be exact, but I know South Carolina, it has not changed for years, for decades. So the stuff he was saying made a whole lot of sense. So I would call him more of a humanitarian, because he cared about people. He did that song about Brenda having a baby, and that was, that's the real thing that has happened, and that happens to this day. Okay, a girl having a baby, And there's even a woman. There was a video I was watching of this, I don't know how old she was. You could just tell she looked a little, she didn't look like a young teenager, but she looked like she was probably, late teens, early 20s. But she went in this restaurant and she just handed her baby off to someone. I believe she left the baby there. They called her back. She was talking to, they just showed it on camera. She was talking to the people there. They took the baby. She left and they called like the ambulance or police or whatever. But that happens. And to hear that story, it touched so many people. He made the most famous song, okay? Dear Mama. Okay? You know black people love our mama. I don't know about no other race, but black people love their mama. Okay? Even if their mama is, is abusive, not there, whatever. We love our mama because our mama is the head of the household. Either our mama or our grandmama, something. But he made a song called Dear Mama. Okay? I remember I heard my youngest daughter, my oldest daughter singing Dear Mama, and I remember when I was pregnant with her, Tupac got unalived. And I remember being so sad during that time. And I was just like, I didn't even know him, but the impact that he had made in just that little time, because I don't remember him like being around like a super long time. It seemed like he was only around a couple years, like 2, 3, maybe 4 years, and then he was gone. But the impact he made while he was here was just undescribable, and that would cause a lot of problems if you think about it in the music industry, or for people who don't like people who like humans, like people, because his mom was a Black Panther, okay? And we know what happened with the Black Panthers. And I mean, we don't know about the Black Panthers being a part of anything criminal except for protecting their own, because they had to. And then just real quickly, allegedly, the Black Panthers were the first organization that came up with free lunch. Okay? Allegedly, I'm not sure if it was just in like Oakland or California or places like that, but allegedly, a lot of schools were not even serving lunch or breakfast. And so the Black Panthers, they started having breakfast in the morning for the children before they get on the bus. They will hold breakfast in certain places and pass out breakfast, or have a place for the children to come eat breakfast real quick. Then they could go get on the bus. They were having after school programs. Allegedly, they were the first ones to have after school programs where they had people helping children with their homework, and also with aftercare, because sometimes parents got to be at work, and also giving them like a prepared meal. Also, allegedly, the Black Panthers were like, when the children were like for summer vacation, they're home, or like, they take a break during school, like summer break or spring break or something. They were giving out food each day for the children because they knew a lot of children were hungry. A lot of families didn't have food. So allegedly, the Black Panthers was the first ones who started all that. And then the schools started serving breakfast, lunch, and having aftercare programs and stuff like that for the children. Okay? So, of course, when you see some togetherness coming, or, coming up like that, you already know how they've taken out. And you know who I'm talking about when I say Dave. If you don't know, Google your history, okay? But if you know the history, then you would know that a lot of Black communities have been taken out, have been bombed, okay, with no reparations, have been enslaved, okay, with no reparations, have been wronged, deleted, the M word and everything, with no reparations. Our people, and I'm talking about Black people, have been through it in America. We have. And we just always seem to just keep our head just a little bit above water. It doesn't matter. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep pushing. That's just how we are. Now, I don't understand why a lot of us can be so nice to other races other than ourselves, nicer than we are to ourselves. I would say that. But I really hate to see that we're so nice to other races. But whatever. Anyway, that's the whole tangent I went off on. But y'all know what I mean. But anyway, Tupac was, to me, that whole thug thing, that thug life, that didn't start till he got with Death Row. And to me, that was part of like acting, because we don't know if anybody Tupac took out. You know, he didn't talk about in his music about him selling rugs, I don't think. Not that I remember, or taking people out, pow pow. He even was driving in his limousine, minding his own business, and he stopped the car and told his limousine driver to pull over because he saw two white men beating up on this black guy, and he jumped out all by himself, and he jumped in to help the black guy. And of course he went to court, got jail time for that and everything. And come to find out, the two guys were off-duty officers. But that was the type of person that Tupac was. So don't get it twisted. I know it's a lot of rumors out here. It's a lot of people trying to call him thug. To me, that was part of the acting thing because he was with Death Row. Okay? Are you not gonna feel thuggish hanging around Suge Knight? Okay, Suge Knight might have said, man, go, get that tattoo. He might have set that up. Suge Knight was nothing to play with. Okay, Suge Knight is locked up right now because he was caught on camera, okay, running over someone with his truck because they were portraying, allegedly, this was people who were doing the movie, I believe the Tupac movie, and Suge Knight I guess was retaliating for some reason. I'm not quite sure, but I do know that he did run somebody over on the set of something, because you could tell that he was at a gate when he did it. He was trying to like run through the gate. He ran the man over with his truck. It's on camera. Okay? So think about it. Who does that? You gotta be mad. Okay? It's alleged that he would beat people up. Okay? It's alleged that he had something to do with Snoop Dogg getting off from that M charge that he had. He even Snoop Dogg wrote a case. I wrote a song about it and said blank was the case that they gave me. But it's alleged that Suge Knight had something to do with him getting off from that case. So you know he probably paid some money to do that, allegedly, if that was, the case. So he had pull. He was not to be played with. Okay. So, and then Keefe D also said that he believed that Reggie Wright Jr. was the one who was involved with taking Tupac out because Suge Knight felt like, allegedly, Tupac was trying to leave and start a new record label. Doesn't that sound like Biggie? Same situation. Okay, so I don't want to make this too long. So, Keefe D also said that in the case of Biggie, he said he was in Los Angeles, of course, but he said that he knew that officers had something to do with that as well, because that was the rumor that was going around. And then if you think about it, if Reggie Wright Jr. was a dirty cop, then it only makes sense that he's making his money how he making his money out there, right? So he gonna get money from whoever. If you listen to him talk, if you listen to his interviews, you can tell that Reggie Wright Jr., that man don't care about nobody. Okay, I bet he's the big old a-hole. I don't know. But just listening to his interviews back in the day, because I remember years ago when I first started hearing about him, I was like, who is this guy? But he was like, doing interviews about the Tupac case. And I was like, who is this guy? And then he sit there so cocky and not in great shape at all. I believe he has a whole lot of health issues. And he's talking about the case, the Tupac case, so matter of factly. And at the same time, he's not saying anything bad about Suge Knight. It's like he'll give a little diss, but not nothing bad that would incriminate him, right? So sometimes I've noticed that these men, especially from this case, okay, they will say certain things about certain guys, but they ain't saying that to criminalize them, unless you keep it D. But really, I'm talking about Reggie Wright Jr. Right? So he's been saying he talks. He'll say something slick, but he doesn't really say anything bad about Suge Knight. Probably because allegedly when Suge Knight got locked up, I'm thinking it was related to that probation hearing. I'm not quite sure though. But when Suge Knight got locked up, Reggie Wright Jr. took over, allegedly, Death Row. He was running Death Row. And Keefe D said that Reggie Wright Jr. was selling drugs and also murking people still. And he believes that LAPD had something to do with taking out Biggie as well, because that could have been a hit job. Pretty much that's what he was saying, allegedly, right? And so also, Biggie's mom, she came back out and she had said that she wanted to reopen the case. She wanted to get it investigated. And then she said she believed that the LAPD had something to do with the unaliving of Biggie. So tell me why she believed that, okay? And then they open up the case, and to me, they tried to play her, or they played her, okay, and made her think that it was somebody else. They started investigating, doing a whole lot of interviews and stuff, didn't come up with anything. Of course, you got the police investigating the police. You already know what time it is with that, right? So of course that kept getting pushed, swept up under the rug. That didn't go anywhere. She didn't get any justice when it came to that, and she didn't get justice at all before she passed away, to find out what happened to her son. And like I said, I remember hearing that the LAPD had something to do with the unaliving of Tupac and Biggie. And I was like, well, why would that be? What would they have against them? But now it makes sense. They were working for whoever. They were like the Uber service, okay? Like Uber and Lyft. Whoever got a job out there. Oh, you got a job? Oh, okay. What I need to do? I need to go here, there, and there, and you gonna pay me money? Oh, okay. That's what I'm gonna do. Long as you pay me my price. Okay, so it makes complete sense. That's why I'm saying I'm really curious to find out what's going to happen in this case, because I don't believe it's going to go anywhere. Sad to say. I don't believe it's going to go anywhere. And I just don't believe it's going to go anywhere. I believe it's just for entertainment purposes, to be honest. It all seems like entertainment to me. Because another thing, right? So Tupac was unalived in Nevada, in Los Angeles. I mean, in Vegas. Not in LA. But the LAPD was in charge of investigating the murder of Tupac. And allegedly, they were taking over the investigation because they believe that they were investigating Suge Knight, so they said, and also P. Diddy. So they thought they could put the case together, and somehow they were able to work out um investigating Tupac's case in Los Angeles instead of Nevada. I don't know if it's the men that's just corrupt and messed up. You know, I think about this a lot. Is it like, would it be better? Would the world be better if it was ran by women? And then that's, you know, you got to worry about that too, because you have some women who too soft. You have some women who just like a man to just take over. They'll let them take over their life. Okay? They'll let that man give them a pill to end their life just because they're in love. So, you know, I just wonder, like, not to say women don't do stupid stuff, okay? Because women do. We do. But of course, this world is ran by men, okay? And it's pretty much ran in the ground. Okay? Literally. I don't, it's probably ain't no more room for bodies to be laid, because this world has been ran in the ground, so, you know, so much. I don't know. That's just my little spiel there. So yeah, so Keefe D connected both cases for Biggie and Tupac, which I always felt like it was connected, by saying that he believed the LAPD had something to do with both of them. It makes sense if Reggie Wright Jr. had some, you know, was actually doing criminal activity, which why wouldn't he? Reggie Wright Jr. was interviewed yesterday. Now, I wonder if they're going to bring him back, if he's going to even get any type of charges, or if they're going to let that just go. You know, they really slack when they had the trial for Diddy. That was a waste of time, in my opinion, a complete waste of time. And to me, the charges he should have got, he didn't get. And I felt like there was some sneaky mess going on with that. And probably still is. I don't know. That's my opinion. But anyway, you guys, that's the information that I have so far. Now, tomorrow, they're supposed to give us more information about the interviews that Keefe D did, that proffer agreement, even more. They're supposed to give us even more information about that. And you know your girl will be back with another video. Okay? Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to my channel here. I really would appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about it in the comment section. If you got opinions and all, let's talk about it. Okay, I would love to have a conversation. All right, bring up something that makes us talk. Okay, also, I'm going to come back and do another video about the update in the Nolan Wells case, because there has been some major updates in that case, and today was his birthday, and you know the family had a whole like a prayer thing today for him in remembrance of Nolan Wells. Anyway, he would have been 19 on his 19th birthday. Is that right? He would have been 19 and his birthday is on the 19th. Yeah, I think that's how I was supposed to say it. But anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching again. And your girl Sunshine, I'll be back with another video